Hey there, history lovers. Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's mind-blowing story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. And if this video blows your mind, smash that like button to help us reach more curious minds like yours. Picture this. You're standing in a dimly lit laboratory, surrounded by bubbling cauldrons and mysterious apparatus. The air is thick with smoke and the scent of sulfur. In front of you sits a small vial filled with a shimmering golden liquid. This isn't just any liquid. This is what alchemists believe to be the key to eternal life itself. Would you drink it? Would you risk everything for a chance at immortality? Well, for centuries, that's exactly what alchemists did. And today, we're diving deep into one of history's most dangerous obsessions, the quest for liquid gold, or as they called it, Aurum Potabile. This isn't just a story about science gone wrong. It's a tale of human ambition, desperation, and the deadly price of chasing impossible dreams. You see, to understand why alchemists were willing to drink liquid gold, we need to understand what gold meant to them. This wasn't just about wealth or status. For the medieval mind, gold was the perfect metal, incorruptible, eternal, and divine, unlike iron that rusts or silver that tarnishes. Gold remains pure and unchanged through time. To alchemists, this made gold a symbol of perfection itself, a physical manifestation of the divine on earth. They believed that if they could somehow transfer these properties of gold into the human body, they could achieve the same incorruptibility. Imagine never aging, never getting sick, never dying. That was the promise of Aurum Potabile, drinkable gold that would purify the body from within and grant eternal life. It was the ultimate elixir, the philosopher's stone in liquid form. So, the dream was clear. Drink gold, live forever. But how exactly did alchemists plan to turn a solid, inert metal into a life-giving elixir? This is where things get, well, a little messy and a lot dangerous. You see, gold, in its metallic form, is incredibly stable. It doesn't react with most acids, which is why it's so prized. But alchemists, in their relentless pursuit, found a way to dissolve it, and that way was through a concoction known as aqua regia, Latin for royal water. Aqua regia is a highly corrosive mixture of nitric acid and hydrochloric acid. It's one of the very few reagents that can actually dissolve gold and platinum. When gold was dissolved in aqua regia, it formed gold chloride, a compound that, while appearing golden and liquid, was anything but life-giving. In fact, it was highly toxic, and this wasn't the only dangerous ingredient. Many alchemical recipes for Aurum Potabile also included other incredibly poisonous substances like mercury and arsenic. Yes, the very elements we now know to be deadly poisons were often part of these supposed immortality elixirs. The irony is truly tragic. Alchemists, in their fervent belief that gold held the secret to eternal health and longevity, were inadvertently creating potent poisons. They were consuming mixtures that, instead of purifying the body, slowly but surely destroyed it from the inside out. The very quest for immortality often led to a slow, agonizing death by heavy metal poisoning. It was a dangerous gamble, fueled by a blend of genuine scientific curiosity, mystical belief, and perhaps a touch of desperation. They were pushing the boundaries of their understanding, often with fatal consequences, all in the name of unlocking gold's perceived magical properties. The allure of Aurum Potabile wasn't limited to the secluded laboratories of alchemists. Its promise of eternal youth and perfect health captivated even the highest echelons of society, including royalty and nobility. These were individuals with immense power and resources, yet they were just as susceptible to the siren song of immortality as anyone else. And sadly, some of the most prominent figures in history may have fallen victim to this dangerous pursuit. One of the most compelling and tragic examples is that of Diane de Poitiers, the legendary mistress of King Henry II of France. Renowned for her striking beauty and youthful appearance, which she maintained well into her 60s, Diane was a figure of fascination and envy. For centuries, her enduring youth was attributed to a disciplined lifestyle and cold baths. However, modern scientific analysis of her remains, exhumed in 2009, revealed a shocking truth. Her hair samples showed extraordinarily high levels of gold, far beyond what could be naturally accumulated. This discovery strongly suggests that Diane de Poitiers was regularly consuming gold, likely in the form of Aurum Potabile, believing it was the secret to her perpetual youth. The irony is heartbreaking. The very substance she ingested to preserve her beauty and extend her life was, in fact, slowly poisoning her. Symptoms consistent with chronic gold poisoning, such as brittle bones and pale skin, were noted in historical accounts of her later years. Her quest for eternal youth ultimately led to a slow, agonizing decline, a grim testament to the toxic reality hidden beneath the golden shimmer of the elixir. Diane de Poitiers is just one high-profile example, but countless others, driven by hope, vanity, or a desperate desire for a cure, likely suffered similar fates. The belief in gold's miraculous properties was so pervasive that the dangers were often overlooked or simply not understood. It was a time when the line between medicine, magic, and charlatanism was incredibly blurred, and the consequences could be deadly. Now, it's crucial to understand that alchemy wasn't just about turning lead into gold or concocting immortality elixirs. While those sensational pursuits often grab the headlines, the true alchemical process was far more complex, encompassing a blend of chemistry, philosophy, mysticism, and even spiritual development. For many alchemists, the physical transformation of metals was merely a metaphor for a deeper spiritual transformation of the self. The pursuit of Aurum Potabile fits into this broader alchemical worldview. It wasn't simply about dissolving gold in acid and drinking it. The preparation of this elixir, like many alchemical endeavors, was often shrouded in secrecy and involved intricate, multi-step processes. These procedures were meticulously documented in cryptic texts, filled with allegories and symbols, making them almost impossible for the uninitiated to decipher. Alchemists believed that the success of the operation depended not only on the correct chemical reactions, but also on the alignment of celestial bodies, the purity of the alchemist's soul, and even the right incantations. Think about it. They weren't just chemists in the modern sense. They were philosophers trying to understand the fundamental nature of matter and spirit. They believed that all substances had a soul, and that by purifying and transforming these substances, they could unlock their hidden virtues. Gold, being the most perfect metal, was thought to possess the most potent virtues. Therefore, making it, here's where things get really fascinating, and honestly, a bit mind-bending. In the world of alchemy, there wasn't just one type of gold. There were actually two distinct concepts that alchemists worked with. There was physical gold, the shiny metal we all know and love. And then there was what they called philosophical gold, or living gold. Understanding this distinction is absolutely crucial to grasping why alchemists were so obsessed with drinking liquid gold. Physical gold was just the starting point. Sure, it was valuable, beautiful, and incorruptible, but to the alchemical mind, it was essentially dead gold, a perfect but static substance. Philosophical gold, on the other hand, was something entirely different. This was gold that had been spiritually awakened, purified through sacred processes, and imbued with life-giving properties. It was gold that had transcended its mere material existence to become a living, breathing essence of perfection. The process of creating philosophical gold wasn't just about chemistry. It was about transformation on every level. Alchemists believed that through repeated distillations, dissolutions, and coagulations, they could awaken the dormant spiritual essence within the metal. They called this process volatilization, making the fixed volatile and the volatile fixed. It sounds like mystical nonsense to our modern ears, but to them, this was serious science. This is why simply melting down regular gold and drinking it wouldn't work. That would be like trying to gain wisdom by eating a book instead of reading it. The gold had to be philosophically prepared, spiritually activated, and transformed into what they believed was its true, living form. Only then could it supposedly transfer its properties of perfection and immortality to the human body. It was an incredibly sophisticated belief system that blended chemistry, philosophy, and spirituality into one unified practice. Beyond its physical properties and its supposed medicinal qualities, gold held an immense symbolic weight in the alchemical tradition. It wasn't just a metal. It was the ultimate symbol of perfection, purity, and spiritual enlightenment. To understand the alchemist's obsession with gold, whether physical or potable, we must delve into this rich tapestry of symbolism. In many ancient cultures, gold was associated with the sun, the giver of life, light, and warmth. This celestial connection elevated gold beyond mere earthly value. It represented the divine, the incorruptible, and the eternal. For alchemists, the process of transmuting base metals into gold was not just a chemical experiment. It was a spiritual journey, a metaphor for the purification of the soul. Just as impure metals were refined into perfect gold, so too could the human soul be purified and elevated to a higher state of being. This symbolic understanding permeated every aspect of alchemical practice. The colors observed during experiments, black, white, yellow, and red, were not just chemical reactions. They represented stages of spiritual transformation. The final stage, the rubedo, redness, was associated with the creation of the philosopher's stone, and by extension, the achievement of spiritual gold. This was the ultimate goal, not just to make physical gold, but to achieve a state of inner perfection, wisdom, and harmony. So, when alchemists sought to create Aurum Potabile, they weren't just looking for a physical cure or a longevity potion. They were seeking to internalize this perfection, to imbue their very being with the qualities of gold, purity, incorruptibility, and eternity. Drinking liquid gold was, in a way, an attempt to become gold, both physically and spiritually. It was the ultimate expression of their quest for perfection, a profound belief that by consuming the most perfect substance, they could achieve their own ultimate potential. It was a powerful, albeit dangerous blend of scientific inquiry and profound spiritual aspiration. While the alchemist's pursuit of Aurum Potabile reached its peak in the medieval and early modern periods, the idea of gold having medicinal properties wasn't entirely new. In fact, the use of gold in medicine dates back thousands of years, long before the rise of classical alchemy. Ancient civilizations from Egypt to China incorporated gold into their healing practices, often attributing almost magical powers to it. In ancient Egypt, gold was believed to have spiritual and purifying qualities. It was used in dental work and even ingested in small amounts, often in powdered form, for various ailments. The Romans also used gold in some medical applications, though its precise uses are less well documented. In traditional Chinese medicine, gold was, and in some form still is, used for its purported calming and detoxifying effects. Gold leaf was sometimes added to pills or food, believed to strengthen the heart and prolong life. Ayurvedic medicine in India, an ancient system of healing, also recognized gold's therapeutic potential. Preparations containing gold, known as Swarna Bhasma, were, and still are, used to treat a wide range of conditions, from asthma to arthritis, and were believed to promote longevity and vitality. These preparations involve complex processes to purify and transform the gold into a digestible form, often involving calcination and trituration, which reduce the gold to a fine powder or ash. It's important to note that these early uses of gold were often based on empirical observation and philosophical beliefs, rather than a modern scientific understanding of pharmacology. The perceived incorruptibility and purity of gold likely led to the belief that it could impart these qualities to the human body. While some modern research has explored the anti-inflammatory properties of certain gold compounds, like those used in treatments for rheumatoid arthritis, the vast majority of historical gold-based remedies, especially those involving ingestion of metallic gold or highly toxic gold salts, were ineffective at best and dangerously poisonous at worst. But for centuries, the belief in gold's healing power persisted, laying the groundwork for the alchemists' even more ambitious and ultimately fatal experiments with Aurum Potabile *. So, we've talked about the alchemists' beliefs and the historical context, but let's get down to the hard science of why drinking liquid gold was, and still is, an incredibly dangerous proposition. From a modern medical and chemical perspective, the practices of creating and ingesting Aurum Potabile were fraught with peril, leading to severe health consequences and often death. First, elemental gold itself, in its pure metallic form, is largely inert. If you were to swallow a tiny piece of pure gold, it would likely pass through your digestive system without being absorbed and cause no harm. The problem wasn't the gold itself, but how the alchemists made it drinkable. As we discussed, they used highly corrosive acids like aqua regia to dissolve the gold. This process created gold salts, primarily gold chloride, which are a completely different beast. Gold chloride is highly toxic. When ingested, it can cause severe irritation and damage to the digestive tract, leading to symptoms like nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain, and internal bleeding. But the dangers don't stop there. Once absorbed into the bloodstream, gold ions can accumulate in various organs, including the kidneys, liver, and nervous system. This accumulation can lead to chronic heavy metal poisoning, resulting in kidney failure, liver damage, neurological disorders, and severe anemia. Remember Diane de Poitiers? Her symptoms were classic signs of chronic heavy metal toxicity. Furthermore, many alchemical recipes weren't limited to just gold and aqua regia. They often included other incredibly toxic substances like mercury, arsenic, and lead, which were commonly used in alchemical processes. These elements, even in small doses, are potent neurotoxins and carcinogens, capable of causing irreversible damage to the body and leading to a slow, painful decline. The alchemists lacking modern understanding of toxicology and chemistry, were essentially creating cocktails of poisons, believing them to be elixirs of life. It's a stark reminder that even the most noble intentions, when coupled with a lack of scientific understanding, can lead to devastating outcomes. Throughout history, some of the most brilliant minds of their time became obsessed with the creation of Aurum Potabile. These weren't just random charlatans or desperate individuals. Many were respected physicians, scholars, and even court advisors. Their stories reveal the complex motivations behind the pursuit of liquid gold and the tragic consequences that often followed. One of the most notable figures was Paracelsus, the 16th century Swiss physician and alchemist who revolutionized medicine. Paracelsus was a genuine innovator who introduced chemical remedies into medical practice and challenged many traditional beliefs. However, he was also deeply invested in alchemical pursuits, including the creation of Aurum Potabile. He believed that gold could be transformed into a universal medicine capable of curing all diseases. His writings describe elaborate processes for creating what he called potable gold, involving multiple distillations and the use of various acids and salts. Another fascinating case is that of Francis Anthony, an English physician from the late 16th and early 17th centuries. Anthony became famous for his Aurum Potabile preparation, which he claimed could cure everything from plague to melancholy. He even published a book titled Aurum Potabile, or The Receipt of Dr. Father Anthony, in 1610, detailing his methods. What's particularly interesting about Anthony is that he was both a practitioner and a businessman. He sold his golden elixir to wealthy clients across Europe, making a fortune from people's desperation for health and longevity. Then, there's the tragic story of Rudolph II, Holy Roman Emperor, who was not an alchemist himself, but was a passionate patron of alchemical research. His court in Prague became a magnet for alchemists from across Europe, all promising to create gold and the elixir of life. Rudolph spent enormous sums funding these experiments, and historical accounts suggest he may have consumed various alchemical preparations, including forms of liquid gold. His later years were marked by mental instability and physical decline, symptoms that modern historians now recognize as potentially consistent with heavy metal poisoning. These stories illustrate a crucial point. The pursuit of Aurum Potabile wasn't driven by ignorance or superstition alone. These were intelligent, educated individuals who genuinely believed they were on the verge of the greatest discovery in human history. Their tragic fates serve as powerful reminders of how even the brightest minds can be led astray by the allure of impossible dreams. Despite its long-standing appeal and the fervent belief of its proponents, the practice of consuming Aurum Potabile gradually faded from mainstream medical and alchemical practice. This decline wasn't sudden, but rather a slow erosion of belief, driven by a combination of factors: the consistent failure to deliver on its grand promises, the increasing understanding of chemistry, and the rise of more empirical scientific methods. One of the most significant nails in the coffin for Aurum Potabile was simply its consistent failure to produce the promised results. Despite countless experiments and the consumption of vast quantities of the elixir, people continued to age, fall ill, and die. The anecdotal evidence of miraculous cures was increasingly overshadowed by the undeniable reality of its ineffectiveness, and often its fatal side effects. As more and more individuals, including prominent figures, suffered from its toxic effects, skepticism grew. Furthermore, the scientific revolution which began to gain momentum in the 17th century, played a crucial role. Figures like Robert Boyle, often considered the father of modern chemistry, began to systematically challenge alchemical theories with rigorous experimentation and observation. Boyle, in particular, was critical of the alchemists' vague language and their reliance on mystical explanations. As the principles of modern chemistry began to emerge, the true nature of elements and compounds became clearer, exposing the dangerous misconceptions behind Aurum Potabile. Pharmacology also started to develop as a distinct field, moving away from speculative elixirs towards more evidence-based remedies. Physicians began to demand demonstrable efficacy and safety from treatments, a standard that Aurum Potabile simply could not meet. The secrecy and mysticism surrounding its preparation, once seen as a sign of its profound power, now began to be viewed with suspicion, often associated with charlatanism rather than genuine healing. By the 18th century, alchemy itself began to be largely discredited as a scientific pursuit, relegated to the realm of pseudoscience and historical curiosity. With this decline, the belief in Aurum Potabile as a viable medicine or path to immortality also waned. While the allure of gold and the dream of eternal life never truly disappeared, the dangerous practice of drinking liquid gold became a cautionary tale, a relic of a bygone era when the lines between science, magic, and medicine were far more blurred. Even though the alchemist Aurum Potabile faded into history as a dangerous misconception, the fascination with gold's potential, both symbolic and practical, never truly disappeared. In fact, in the modern era, we see echoes of the alchemist's quest, albeit through a very different lens. The scientific and medical exploration of gold in its various forms. Today, gold is indeed used in medicine, but not in the toxic, ingestible forms of the past. For instance, gold compounds, particularly gold salts, have been used in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis for decades. This practice, known as cryotherapy, involves injecting gold compounds to reduce inflammation and slow disease progression. While the exact mechanism isn't fully understood, it's a far cry from drinking dissolved metallic gold. More recently, the field of nanotechnology has opened up entirely new avenues for gold in medicine. Gold nanoparticles, incredibly tiny particles of gold, are being researched for a wide range of applications. Because of their unique optical and electronic properties, they can be engineered to deliver drugs directly to cancer cells, act as imaging agents for diagnostics, or even be used in photothermal therapy to destroy tumors with heat. This is a fascinating parallel to the alchemist's desire to unlock gold's hidden powers, but now with precision and scientific understanding. Beyond medicine, the alchemical legacy of gold continues to influence our culture and language. Phrases like Midas touch or golden opportunity reflect gold's enduring symbolism of perfection and value. The very idea of transformation, central to alchemy, still resonates in our pursuit of self-improvement and societal progress. And while we no longer seek immortality in a golden elixir, the human desire for longevity, health, and perfection remains as strong as ever, now pursued through advanced medical research, healthy lifestyles, and technological innovation. So, while the alchemists' Aurum Potabile was a dangerous dead end, their underlying quest for understanding and improving the human condition, symbolized by gold, continues to inspire. It's a powerful reminder that even flawed historical pursuits can lay the groundwork for future scientific inquiry, showing us both the perils of ignorance and the endless possibilities of human ingenuity. What a journey, right? From the mystical laboratories of medieval alchemists to the cutting-edge nanotechnology labs of today, the story of gold and its perceived power is a testament to humanity's enduring quest for perfection, health, and immortality. The tale of Aurum Potabile is a fascinating and often tragic chapter in that long history. We've seen how the alchemists, driven by a profound belief in gold's divine purity and incorruptibility, sought to harness its essence to achieve eternal life. They poured their intellect, their resources, and sometimes even their lives into concocting this golden elixir. But as we've learned, their methods, born of a nascent understanding of chemistry and a deep well of mystical belief, often led to fatal consequences. The dream of immortality became a nightmare of poisoning, a stark reminder of the dangers that lurk when ambition outpaces knowledge. Yet, even in its failures, alchemy laid some foundational groundwork for modern chemistry and medicine. It taught us invaluable lessons about experimentation, observation, and the critical importance of understanding the true nature of substances. The alchemist's relentless pursuit, however misguided in its methods, was a precursor to the scientific inquiry that now allows us to truly understand and harness the properties of elements like gold, not for mythical elixirs, but for real-world medical advancements. So what do you think about the alchemist's golden obsession? Would you have dared to drink the Aurum Potabile in pursuit of eternal life? Or do you think their quest was doomed from the start? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. If you found this deep dive into the history of alchemy as captivating as we did, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to bring you more incredible stories from the past. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next historical adventure. Until then, stay curious, stay safe, and keep exploring the amazing stories that shape our world.